was is when I first got in business and I'd work with women, they would say things to me like, can you help me organize my life? And that just kind of struck me that they would say that kind of stuff to me. And somewhere in this journey of doing the organizing, hands-on, women would just start opening up to me. They would just tell me things. And I just kind of kept praying. I said, you know, God, why would you allow me to have gotten my license as a minister? I've got 107 credit hours to put me into the secular world. I thought this is not what I was supposed to be doing. And somewhere around the end of last year, there was a client I've been working with for a long time, and for a few months she hadn't contacted me at all. And when I went to her house finally, I looked at her and I said, you're hiding. I said, that's okay, I'm praying for you. And we just kind of was being playful, and she just grabbed me and she says, I need you. I'm glad you're praying for me. And so when we went to have lunch, because she didn't want to speak in front of her children, my heart was shocked, because here's this woman who her husband has hundreds of employees, a very well-known business in the city, and she's being beat by him, she's being raped by him, and he's being unfaithful. And so it just really kind of grabbed me. So it was just in that moment that God said, this is the reason. This is what you're doing is for. Yes, it's about the closets and it's about the office and paperwork, but it's more than that. And in the beginning of this year, I actually had a pastor's wife from one of the larger churches. Houston has a lot of really mega churches. They really do. And she said to me, she says, Lisa, she says, how can I help others when I can't get myself in order? And her house was filled with clothes and just everything. And I looked at her and I said, well, you realize you got more stuff than space. Take that as a tip, ladies. That's one right there. And I said, so your choice is, and this is a tip, is you either get more space. Some people choose to get a storage unit. Some people choose to kidnap their children's closet, convert something into a closet. You know, they'll choose it. Or the other thing is it comes down to is you need to release some items. And she looked at me and she says, we already made peace that we need to let things go. We do want a bigger house, she said, but I know I've got to make it right where I'm at first before I move forward. And she said, well, the things will go to the women's shelter. So I handed her a black trash bag and I said, okay. I said, now whatever you're not keeping, it's going to go to the women's shelter. And the minute it touched her hand, she burst into tears and she said, I forgot. She says, my daddy used to beat my mama. And one night during the night, she gave me a black trash bag and said, whatever you can take. And she says, that's why I'm saving what I'm saving. It was just this moment to her. But it was a moment to me too, because I wasn't always connecting the dots with this. And I was getting ready to work with another woman who was real tough and abrupt, and I went in there to do my assessment, and she said, I don't want to talk about anything. Let's just do this and get this over with. I said, okay. So we're in the organizing process, and we're taking a ride to go to Target to get some containers, and I share her this story. And now everything is always confidential. I'll change names and circumstances. And the woman just froze, and she said, I totally forgot. When I was a little girl, my house burned down, and I lost everything. That's probably why I'm saving what I'm saving. But it was in those stories and stories that I still keep seeing, and that's past things, present things, whether it's a past trauma or whether it's a present trauma. Sometimes that happens, and I just kind of kept pondering that, what does it all mean? And I'm sitting down, and I think it's been so cool this year. I mean, I'm from the West Bank in New Orleans, okay? I mean, you know, you had the East Bank and West Bankers, and the West Bankers were poor. Well, then on the West Bank, you had the east and the west side of the Harvey Canal. The east side of the canal, they had a little bit more money than the west side of the Harvey Canal. So now, on the West Bank, the poorest of the poor were supposed to be those in Westwego. We were past Westwego. We were the unincorporated little neighborhood. And I didn't really know I was poor until, I guess, when I grown up, and I thought, 900 square feet, I guess we were. I mean, we had 6, sometimes 12 people live in our house with one bathroom. When you would take a bath, you'd have to close the shower curtain because it was an honor system, because if somebody had to use the bathroom, that's just what it was. Right. And that was your little sanctuary for that moment, was you could take a bath, and Daddy would always say we were rich, because he said when he was growing up, there was 8 of them, and they would have to share the water. So the fact that we got clean water, our own tub of water, we automatically, and he said that we got to eat meat every day, because when he was growing up, he only could eat meat once a week. So we were poor, and of course, it was the reality of, I was in my 30s one day, and I went, gosh, I think I was. But that's okay. It doesn't hurt to grow up like that. It doesn't. And then you share the stories with your children. Because I remember one time we were in a golf course neighborhood, and my son one day says to us, he says, Mama, we live in a poor neighborhood, don't we? You see, our houses were only 3,000 square feet, but the other side of the canal, well, they had the 8,000 square feet, so my son thought that we were poor. We have a problem here. Exactly. So when I tell people, you know, what I'm doing, and I'm writing the second book, and they ask me why, and I say, you know, there's a reason. That's not always true, but there's a reason why sometimes messes can occur. Sometimes we just get busy with our lives. But a lot of times, what happens is we're seeking to fill something, whether we're filling a void of material or with our time. Because sometimes clutter, you can have a perfect house, and it's clutter that's in your life. I had, through this journey this year, as a matter of fact, this one right here said it to me, and it's been quite a year for me this year, and if I cry, forgive me. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, that's okay. You can do it.
Sorry about that. So anyway, she said to me, she says, you're always running. Or you're running from something. And I had to kind of stop and think. And I thought, well, maybe this is true. Maybe it is. And so somewhere this year, I always have a smile on my face and like to be happy, like to be bubbly and hold together, and you know, nobody knows what's going on, but I've always had a cry in my heart. And I always had things that I was raised. My mom was Catholic, my daddy was Nazarene, so that was interesting. And then we were raised UPC almost. You know, I mean, I couldn't wear pants to church. Your shoulders aren't supposed to show, and we were allowed to put a little makeup on. We were, you know, but it was, the church was in transition on getting past all that Pentecostal stuff. But I was still raised very, 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 very rigid. And this year, I met somebody. It was interesting because I started going through menopause, not sleeping at night, and I just met somebody who would just kind of ask me questions, and it just kind of rattled me a little bit. And in my own personal life, I started having brief flashes of memories of growing up and the own abuse. I flew with a business coach, and he asked me why are you an organizer? And I said, I don't know, I like to organize. He says, no, that's not it. But even in my own life, that wanting everything to be in order, have to look just right. My house has to be right. My life, you know, if I obey all of the rules and regulations, then I'm going to heaven. So everything about my life was putting things in these little boxes. And all of a sudden, God just started opening these boxes, and it was rough to face, you know, past abuses in my own self, to face, you know, just everything that went on. And everything I thought I knew to be true changed this year. Everything I thought that was right and perfect. And I said something to someone one day, and I said, how on earth can you appear to have this seemingly perfect life? And it doesn't. We sat down with a bunch of business women. And some of them were like, oh, Lisa, this is so cool. You got a book and you've been on TV several times. And I said, well, look at you. You got businesses and you got employees. And I said, well, look at this one. She's $1 million realtor. And one by one, and I said, well, how can we help one another? How can we really reach out and make a difference? And so the thing is I want everybody to look at and think about is getting our heart and head right first. Yeah, it's important to make your closet pretty. It is. But when you start realizing, and if you find yourself running nonstop, and you're always on the go, and you don't have any time for anything, and you're stressed out, then that's another thing you're stopping and you're looking at. What do I have happening truly in my life? And it's making that time, that scenario to say, let's get this in order, get our hearts in order, you know, as we're seeking God, as we're making peace with where God has us at. Because the secrets behind closed doors is just what it is. I've been in beautiful houses, and you guys know this one's to be true. They have wonderful housekeepers that know how to hide those in closets and cabinets. Yeah. But just because it looks pretty on the outside of the house, and just because you look at the house and you think it looks pretty and it's perfect, just because you see somebody with a smile on their face, and I've had women who say, well, if I get married, my life is going to be perfect. And then I have women who say, you know, they want to get divorced. You know? There's a cute little sign in the gift shop, and it says, chocolate and men, some things must be rich, something like that. And my client looked at that sign and she says, it's not true, because here she's very rich. But it doesn't matter, you know? So we're always trying to achieve something, and it's really about getting, it's getting everything in order in our life. It's really taking that time, it's forgiving. Oh my gosh, it's totally forgiving and having a heart of content for where you're at in your life. I mean, it's easy to just buy something new, buy something pretty, and I do like doing that too, but it's totally. Part of what had happened to me this year, when I was having some memories and stuff, is I was always very independent, and I always fought with my mother. My mom had died 20 years ago, and I wasn't really sad that she died. And I was very angry, and I didn't want to help take care of her. And I had regrets. I guess my biggest regret was that I didn't make peace with my mom at the time. And so just recently I asked my daddy, I said, why did Mama like me? And now you would expect your daddy to say, oh honey, your mama loved you. That's what I thought my daddy was going to tell me. And he didn't say that, which was only just confirmation. He says, Lisa, he says, your mama resented you because I got her pregnant. Because she thought she was going to marry somebody else. And then to make matters even more interesting is that she gave me related relatives for the next couple of years of my life. And those are the things that you just sit back and you pass around and pass around. But God this year has brought people in my life who lived where I was. And that was another thing that totally threw my world off, is one of the families that took care of me as an infant and a toddler and as a child live in Sugar Land. Can you believe it? I was at an event, and they're like, where are you from? And I said, New Orleans. They said, what neighborhood? And I said, Lakeview. And they said, which street did you live on? And I went, General Haig Street. And they're like, what's your house number? And I'm like, who are you? And I had a picture of these women with me sitting on their front porch. Is that not the most amazing thing in the world?
Wow.
And it gets more interesting. In the same house, because that's my mama's side of the family and all of them, and it was her mama's side of the family, was I was doing some genealogy, and I found my Aunt Teresa. And on this picture of this website, the Times Picayune, there was photo gallery, and a lady that owns Crew Home down Highway 6 by Sienna, you know, the little house they have. Well, anyway, her family and their pictures were all in there. And I said, son of a gun, my Aunt Teresa's website has just been spammed. So I decided to get on Facebook, and I said, Allison, how many of you guys know Teresa Bucola? Oh, that's my husband's grandmother. I said, so when I'm over there holding your babies, I'm holding my cousins? Yes. Her husband's grandfather and my grandmother were brother and sister.
Wow.
Played together.
Wow.
But it's been this whole year of facing this, forgiving, you know, so you're getting past the fears, you're getting past failures and stuff. And like I said, and it is all about the cross, because if it wasn't for God knowing that He was there holding me, there's no way that I could have faced it. I could have just crawled up. So just because I'm organized, or I thought I was, didn't mean that everything was absolutely right. But I do know how to put things into order. I really do. And it is important to take care of yourself. And that's a practical part of it, you know, because I was running 50 miles an hour in the beginning of the year. And I wasn't sleeping. I was averaging 3 hours a night, you know, and I just blew the excuse of menopause as that was my story and I was going to stick to it. But here again, you know, and Pastor Renee knows because she's been very gracious with me with different friendships this year that just kind of, in the way my family looks at it, to say that I was so legalistic and I try to find this balance in my life because I was always beating everybody over the head with the Bible. And now to try to have compassion on people who are going through other matters in their life, whether it's the death of a child, whether they're having their own stresses. So now I want to just take a little moment to pray, and then I'm give you a couple little tips for the holidays. But let's go ahead and pray. Father, just thank you, Lord, for this day. We know that all things work together for the good. You know the plans that you have for us, good and not evil, to give us a future and a hope. And it doesn't matter where we are right this minute, what happened to us 5 minutes ago, 15 years ago. You're the God that heals. You're the God that gives peace, Lord. You're the God that gives wisdom. And we ask you, Lord, that whatever's in our life that we have to just kind of bring out and deal with and clean, that you will hold our hand, you'll comfort us, you'll take care of us, Lord. And we just bless your name. In Jesus' name.
Amen.